You're listening to Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast. Comics, television, movies, and more. If it impacts fan culture, we have something to say about it. And now, your hosts, Jordan, Cliff, and Seth.
Hello and welcome back to Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast. My name is Jordan Lowe.
I'm Cliff Barnes.
I'm Seth.
What's up, guys?
Just hanging.
Yeah, dude.
We've been
all right.
We've been talking.
I can dig it.
We've been talking so much. We've been doing so much kids on bikes the last couple of months, so we haven't got to talk about anything on TV. So I want to hear what you guys been watching.
You've just crossed over into the Twilight Zone.
Live from New York, it's Saturday night!
Marsha!
Okay, right, yo. Yo, come on, yo, Romeo's coming, man.
I'm Prison Mike. You know why they call me Prison Mike?
Beavis, please sit down.
Are you threatening me? I am Cornholio.
First sign a youngster's going wrong, you got to nip it in the bud. Nip it.
And I'm sitting there with Woody, and I turn to him and I go, boy, these pretzels are making me thirsty.
Picture it. Sicily, 1939.
What you talking about, Willis?
Won't you please? Please won't you be my neighbor? My neighbor.
Good afternoon, everybody.
A lot? You're doing better than that.
Me too, man. So what was the biggest thing? What was the biggest and best thing?
The biggest and best thing I have watched came from Netflix.
Ooh.
New series, guys.
Right.
How to Build a Sex Room.
Give me 100 guesses. Wouldn't have got there.
Nope.
Yes.
That's not on my suggested list.
Well, you guys are missing out.
You have really the algorithm. You've crafted quite an algorithm for yourself over there.
I have. I'd like to say on my own Netflix account, but it's not. But
that's
yeah,
that's how the algorithm steered you. It was somebody else's algorithm.
Wow.
It was.
It's not mine. It's not mine.
Sure. I'm constantly getting other people's stuff on my screen. Whatever you say.
Yeah, when you use other people's accounts and profiles, you do that sometimes. But this is it's a little bit Bob Vila, This Old House, but with this little old lady. And her name is Melanie Rose. She is a designer, and she designs sex rooms.
Hello. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
May I come in?
Yeah, come on in.
Thank you. Oh my goodness. Oh wow. This is beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Welcome.
So I understand you want a sex room. My name is Melanie Rose. For over 15 years, I've been designing high-end homes. So when a client asked me if I'd ever designed a sex room, I thought, why not? Why wouldn't I go and design a sex room? When people hear the word sex rooms, they concentrate on the word sex. And that connotates dirty, disgusting. Wait a minute. Don't give us some pussy tap. But when I design them, they can be beautiful.
No video games in the room?
No, we're not playing video games in here.
Oh.
You're going to play with your wife instead. And they are places where couples can explore their deepest fantasies.
I would have never thought that being tied in rope would make me feel sexy.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Curiosity that is being unlocked.
I have a great general contractor. His name is Mike.
I didn't break nothing. It was the little guy.
I always like to make his life a little bit difficult. Can you lie in the bed, please?
Hey.
Looks so great. Come on, off you go.
Are you kidding me? You were our angel for our marriage. Thank you so much. Oh my God.
They say you never know what goes on behind closed doors. Ooh, but I do.
Of all shapes and sizes, guys. And if I'm telling you, if you like Queer Eye and shows, makeover shows, this, you're gonna love it. It's all about couples.
To paraphrase Mitch Hedberg, he said, any room's a sex room, really. My sex room has an oven in it.
Yeah, so it's this little British lady that she's a designer, and it starts out the first episode. You're introduced to a couple couples, and they say, "Hey, here's our space." It might be a basement, it might be their bedroom, it might be a spare room, and it's really not.
It might be an island somewhere.
It could be, it could be a shed. That we'll get there, but yeah, it's a really cool show. She comes in and just kind of, I thought it was going to be cheap and dirty and kind of, icky, all at the same time. But she comes in, just talks to them about their relationship, talks to them about, what their expectations, their ideas, what do we actually, sometimes it's just, it's just not that dungeon. It's it might just be she designs them a getaway, or a corner of the house where they can just spend time together. Sometimes it's a hidden room in a basement where they build a fake bookcase, and you got to get in there like Batman, I guess, and push a little button and it opens up, and there's might be a pole there, who knows, but
there better be.
But yeah. But the point of the show, it's several episodes long. You get two basic guests or customers, whatever you want to call them, to each episode. And as she does one room, you're introduced to the next one, and then they complete that one. And then by the time they complete that one on there's a new episode, there's a new couple coming in. So it's constant flow of people and different situations across the country. But they're not just straight couples. This show actually had a diverse cast to it. There are the straight couple, there are queer couples, married, singles, polyamorous. There's one group, they call themselves the family. It's 7 people in the relationship, gay, etc. And then I actually made a note. I said that I think she described herself as classy but a bit cheeky in one of the episodes, and that's really what the show is. But it's amazing. She's a really good designer. They do all kinds of different situations. There's one lady at the end, I think on the last episode, she's like 50 some years old, newly divorced, was married for 25 years, and she's just like, I just want to enjoy the single life, and I had a really bad marriage, and it's got some nice moments in it that you can relate to some of these people, or it presents it as a new experience and a different type of person that maybe has a stereotypical thing going on from the viewer's point of view, and then you find out that's really not that way. So but the impressive thing, like I said, her designs are amazing. They're not just dungeons, they are classy and fun, and some of them very elegant designs and the materials. And it's not just like, I thought it was going to be like what were those movies?
Caligula?
No.
50 Shades.
50 Shades. I thought it was going to be cheap and silly like that, but but it's a lot better than that. So I would say, yeah. So yeah, check it out, Netflix. I'm telling you, it's a winner. If you're of age, you're gonna love it. And
Harley, go to your room.
Season 2.
But your regular room.
Yeah, Carly, go to your sex
room. Regular.
I'm gonna stick with my dungeon. Okay. Where do you go from that?
I'm not entirely sure. Maybe you stay on Netflix and go to the Sandman.
There's a headline. The Sandman.
I'm the king of dreams, ruler of the nightmare realm.
What are you doing here, Etty?
He's coming, isn't he?
Yeah.
Morpheus, the Neuromancer. You know, the Sandman.
He's a fairy story, Etty.
He's no fairy story. He's back.
Good to know.
Put your his hands! Open your hands, now!
Forgive me, sire, the palace, the realm. They are not as you left them. With you gone, the realm began to decay and crumble.
The dreams and nightmares no longer seem to recognize the monster. You will remind them. He's free. He's out of his cage.
That was the biggie this week. Anybody else? I finished it. Anybody else get through all 10?
No, I have watched 5, I believe.
I have watched 0.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. This is not for you.
Yeah.
But of course I am famously a big Sandman fan, have all the absolute editions and just cut my teeth on that shit. Loved collecting that series back in the late 80s, early 90s, and it's just loved it. So nothing like it. And so far from what I have seen, it is very faithful to the series. And just, I mean, Neil Gaiman is heavily involved with it and has totally supported saying this is his vision. This is what he wanted it to look like. And I agree. It's they've nailed it.
Yeah, they've been trying to make something out of Sandman since the 90s. Like there's an infamous script out there that someone tried to write a movie script that was like, puny mortals bow before the power of the Sandman. Like people who didn't get it at all. Yeah. And Gaiman has just been patient and bid his time, and now he has enough control that this is his version on the screen. Co-created with David S. Goyer,
which is a surprise that he's
producer and screenwriter for a ton of comic book stuff like the Nolan Batman trilogy, the Blade trilogy he worked on, and a ton of other fanboyish kind of stuff. And Alan Heinberg, who was screenwriter
Young Avengers,
Young Avengers and Wonder Woman movie. So there's a lot of comic power behind this, or you would think people who understood what this was. So I just have a hard time watching it with fresh eyes. Like I can't
I can't at all. I can't at all.
What are other people? Do other people understand this? Do they like? I'm so distracted by.
Yeah.
I don't know that this is going to make any sense to anybody, that I can't just sit back and enjoy it.
I'm the same way. I have no perspective. I'm totally lost in my own experiences of the source material. So I am just like, I don't know how it could be a hit, how people are going to get into it, except that some of the storyline, like I feel like, the first issue, this first episode is a great story. And the stuff where he is looking for his items. That's good. But man, even in the original series, that where it starts to get really crazy towards the diner stuff, they lost some people, and I could see them losing some people here.
Yeah.
But I just like how faithful it is. I'm satisfied.
I was shocked how faithful it was.
Yeah.
I went back. I hadn't read these since college.
Yeah.
I have my 25-year-old trade paperback
those are
version.
the OG.
Yeah. So this is volume 1 and 2. 16.
Preludes and Nocturnes.
Preludes and Nocturnes, volume 1, and volume 2, The Doll's House. So these first 10 episodes are the first 16 issues of the book. So if you were looking for the source material, just these first 2 trades will get you everything that you've seen so far. I feel like they've dipped in a few little hints and things here and there, but the thing, like, there's no way to do this as a movie like people wanted to do. Like, it's made episodically, like it's about storytelling.
Yeah, his intention
about different.
They offered, what do you want to do? You can do anything, basically. He's like, so I created a series that I could tell all kinds of different stories.
Yeah. So some of it's very horror, like that diner scene.
Yeah.
Some of it's very sweet, and some of it's a little comedic. Some of it's fantasy. Some of it's dark. Some of it's light, and it's literally about it's about myth. It's about religion. It's about the unconscious mind, and it's about everything. It's so trying to boil that down to 10 episodes of TV is hard enough. So there's just making a movie out of Sandman never made sense. Right. But rereading this, like, I'm picking up 75% of even the dialogue is lifted directly.
Yeah.
Like, which is even no comic books adaptations do
but
that.
How do you improve upon dialogue that he writes? And if he's sitting there, he's you think he's going to be like, you can improve this.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, is there a point where it becomes too faithful? Like, what's the point if you're just doing the exact same thing?
Yeah.
If you're just lifting a panel and the dialogue and putting it in motion, what's the point? So I'm having that debate, like the Watchmen movie, where it just tried to adapt as close as it could, versus the Watchmen TV show, where it took the concepts and tried to do something new with it. So
he said something about that exact thing, and
really?
His comment was that it's a chance for people that don't read comic books to be exposed to his story.
Well, I don't care about those people. Nah, I'm just kidding. But I fully understand more people are just going to accidentally brush by this on Netflix than have ever read the series. I understand. But that's my worries going into it, of like, oh, what do you even want from this? What do you want this to be? It can't be as good as the original, but like, I don't know, it felt right. And some of the little tweaks they made, I was even thinking in places that actually is better. That's a clever way to do that, or a more modern update of this or that or the other. So I don't know. It was faithful where it needed to be, and it tweaked a few things where it could. I felt like it was a big success for me.
I'm excited to finish it. I've liked what I've watched so far. The only thing I thought, I don't understand this yet, and I haven't heard anybody say it. I haven't really read much about it because I don't want to get spoiled too much if they did do anything different. But the end of the first episode, they changed the way something was worded, because I've always stuck in my head that the curse was eternal waking. Yeah. And that's not what they say in the show. I believe they say eternal sleep. And
I feel like that was just simplified.
That's not. I feel like the concept was better. I always like the wording of that, and it's stuck in my head. So I don't know why they changed that, but I'm not. Again, it will always be that for me. But I listened to him on Mark Barron this past week, a week or two ago, that he had done an interview with this in mind coming out. And he said something that was really stuck with me about, and having done this Kids on Bikes role play thing we had done recently, where he was talking about, Mark was asking him, like, you've used a lot of these many different religious concepts, mythology, all of these things that are, you know, you've combined all of these stories in a lot of your writings and folded them into actual happenings. And it feels like it's a real thing. It feels like that does tie to this exactly. And this, and so it seems so perfect. And Neil was explaining, he's like, I have a lot of sympathy for conspiracy theorists, because he's like, I have found that if you start to take fiction and tie it to reality, the facts will all get in line. and I was like, man, I was feeling that at the time doing Kids on Bikes. I was doing that exact thing, and things were just lining up.
I was dreaming about Heather Thomas.
Yeah, exactly that. I was just like, everything just lined up. And I just thought that was such a good point, because things will line up for you if you try to tie these things together. So it's really great to listen to him talk. Well, I just saw him live a couple months ago, him talking, and you could just listen to him talk forever.
There's doors everywhere.
Exactly. That's exactly right. There are. So,
yeah, I just learned today there was an actual thing in England called the sleepy sickness, like in the 1920s. That they've never figured out what it was. So like,
so exactly, absolutely tie that in there. There's you know.
So I'll give you my negatives, the things that didn't quite work for me. The first one, I'm not sure yet, but I knew from the beginning this was going to worry me. Dream in the comics he's not the hero. He's not a good guy.
Yeah.
He's aloof. He's petty. He's cruel.
Absolutely. The first 3 volumes or so, he is the problem.
Yes. And I don't know how you do that with a mainstream American TV show with a hero. Like, you can't have them be that. So I feel like, you know, as the 75 issues of the series winds on, he learns more about humanity, and there maybe is a few changes, but it's hard to do in 10 episodes. He's having a character arc and becoming a better person, and you're kind of, you know, sanding off the edges a little bit. It's like, it wasn't terrible. It wasn't, you know, it didn't destroy anything, but it's like, I wondered if they were going to have that edge and have him do some of these things he does in the book that are just mean and cruel.
We're not there that far in the story. At least I'm not. I remember how he has that girlfriend or whatever. He was super petty and did terrible things. And I was just like, are they going to do that? Because that's going to make the hero, like you say, look pretty bad.
Yeah. And I didn't love Patton Oswalt as Matthew the Raven.
Okay.
I love him in everything. He's a great comedian. I think he's one of the greatest. Yeah. But like, he wasn't as bad as I thought maybe he could have been, like all jokey.
Yeah.
And I know you have to kind of, you know, it could be very dark and grim and serious, and you need a little bit of that levity, but I don't know, his voice just didn't work.
I was expecting not to like him as Matthew, but I felt like so far I've liked it better than I was expecting, because I feel like he took it. He's not trying to be over the top, but it is a bit much for that voice.
But then, I don't think you've gotten here this far, but somebody else shows up who's an acclaimed voice actor. I'm like, why didn't you just get him to be Matthew?
Okay.
So we might talk about that later.
If
you don't get there. Okay. And I didn't mind the Constantine change.
No.
I don't think they even had the rights to use John.
Yeah.
So they used, in the book, his ancestors, Joanna Constantine. Yeah. And so they just used her as the modern day one.
Yeah, he talked about that on Marin also.
Who cares? That's fine. No, but then they tried to make her. They gave her the same origin, like she loses the girl Astra to the demon. That's John's origin. Like why do we even need an origin story? The character's not that important at this point.
He said everything when I did this and I was involved in casting. If I had anything to do with that, he's like, I asked myself, does this character have to be white? Does this character have to be male? And he said, none of those questions were to eliminate any white males. They were still up for the role, but we just didn't have to be limited to that, And so anything that was that they could widen up and change, maybe they did, I agree that the particulars of his story probably shouldn't have been involved.
I don't know why you had to shoehorn his origin story into her character. And do I buy her as a streetwise, tough talking mage? Like, I don't know, Jenna Coleman from Doctor Who. I don't know that she fits that.
Yeah, they could have.
Whatever. It wasn't enough of a.
Right.
But yeah, like you said, the LGBTQ representation is off the charts, and you might think it's modern day wokeness or whatever, but you reread these first two books that started in 1989, and all that stuff's in there.
Yep.
A ton of gay characters, trans characters, non-binary characters. Like, he has a whole spectrum of humanity in these books. Way long
already.
Ago. So there were no changes in that direction to make it more modern. It was ahead of its time. Absolutely.
That's 100% true. So if that, I would encourage anyone to go back to the source material on this stuff, because you find out they didn't have to do anything to change it up.
So Tom Sturridge as Morpheus. I didn't recognize any of his other credits. He's been
but it's literal, like if you were going to create Morpheus in human form, how do you get closer than this guy?
He seems like he's made of CGI. Like, he's way too
doesn't
skinny.
Even seem real.
Like, I know I'm sure it's costuming
and muscular.
In the way that
skinny yet muscular.
He'll just be staying there in some long coat, and he looks like he's 7 feet tall and weighs 12 pounds. Like, I don't get it. His face is really skinny, and the cheekbones, like, he doesn't look human.
When he was laying there in the arcane circle in that first episode, I'm like, how did they find this guy?
Crazy. They got Dave McKeon to come back. He designed all the end credits. So the cover artist of Sandman, who did all the covers, very
that was it.
Artist.
That was how that series became something, were his covers. You walked by the comics and there was all the same shit you've been looking at for 40 years. And then there was Dave McKean's covers that drew in those people looking for something different.
So that was cool to have him back in some capacity. So watch the credits at the end. Each one is different and has a different style to it. The only other thing it's talking about being very faithful, but obviously some things are tweaked. When the book first started, it was in the DC universe. There were references. We've
Dr. Destiny.
Destiny. And we have the House of Secrets and House of Mystery and that kind of stuff. Yeah. But it also tied into, there was a Sandman in the Golden Age, Wesley Dodds, a Sandman in the Silver Age, and it kind of retconned all that stuff to make sense in this world. That stuff's gone, which, I wasn't expecting it. Yeah. They introduced a few characters, like the Corinthian comes in later. They bring him in immediately to set him up. And there's a little tweaking around, but I said all the stuff they changed worked for me. And I thought it was good the way they expanded the time, because the comic is set in 1989. So he's trapped for less than 100 years. Yeah. Well, now he's been trapped for more than 100 years. We're in modern day. We've got cell phones.
Oh, I love I'm a Cap guy. I love a sliding timeline.
Yeah. So we are definitely sliding in the timeline, which the absolute best detail of that is the costume department, who decided to put despair in Crocs. The human embodiment of despair should be wearing Crocs. And
absolutely.
That's a beautiful detail of this modern age we couldn't have gotten in the comics.
I would despair if I showed up, say, for my next golf round in Crocs.
That would be nothing but despair. All right, so we might talk a little more about this after you finish it. But it seems to be getting a lot of views. It was the number one on Netflix for at least a couple of days. Like, it seems to be getting an audience. So I hope it brings people to the comic and vice versa. And it has Netflix is famous for canceling shows early. and not giving them the shot that they might have
Please
otherwise
give
had.
this at least one more season.
Yeah.
Please, I have to see more. I haven't watched this yet, but I do want to say it is quite a moment to be me and bring up my Netflix, and there on the front page is Sandman and Lock and Key right beside each other.
I hadn't even finished Sandman, and then Lock and Key dropped. Like,
I know.
You got to give me a minute.
That's
man.
ridiculous. That is like what this is. This is that timeline for me. I don't know. That's crazy. So
the other comic thing we had, Paper Girls was the other big comic.
I still haven't even got back to that yet. I've only watched the first episode.
So that is a series by Brian K. Vaughan and Cliff Chang from Image Comics. I'm not finished. I got 5 more issues to go. I haven't ever finished it.
That's what's holding me back, is because I feel like I'm going to stop and read the series through.
So I finished the show before I finished the comic because it doesn't get anywhere near the end. But
okay, maybe I will just go and watch it, because I've read the first 2/3 of the series,
and it's nowhere near as faithful either. It's a lot of the same themes, same characters, but
you had told me a complaint you had, and man, it stuck out.
Oh.
To me about the talk, the interaction between the girls, and that really bugged me.
So when this book came out,
yeah,
I love Brian K. Vaughan. I'll get anything he does. I'll give a chance.
Top 5.
I read that first issue, and you didn't know what it was about.
Yeah,
it was girls on bikes. They're
barely any dialogue.
1988 in Cleveland, Ohio. They're out at 4 a.m. delivering newspapers, and maybe there's something creepy happening. You don't know if it's a horror story or this or that. But at the end of the first issue, they find what's basically like an iPhone in the 80s in Cleveland. And you're like, wait, what is happening? What is this about even? So there's no way to have that feeling in the show, because they have to have a trailer and show that it's time travel, and she meets her older self in 2019 and all this. So there's no way to have the feeling the comic gave me watching this show. But I don't know, maybe it wasn't even trying to do that. But but it's a story about these 4 girls, and they're in this insane adventure. They go forward in time and backward in time, and crazy stuff happens to them, but they stick together and they're friends and they work out their problems. And the show just immediately went into that thing of like, they're at each other's throats and they're snipping at each other, and the one that comes from a wealthy family and the one's from a poorer family, and
they all live in
you
a
wouldn't
cul-de-sac.
understand. They all live in the same cul-de-sac. Yeah, it's a little derivative, I'll give it. It just builds. It tries to bring the drama from them. You don't understand my life, and that kind of stuff. It's like, don't do that. And the comic as well. And again, not just to compare comic and show, but the comic just went. It just went, and stuff happened, and then immediately something different's happening. And the show seemed much slower paced and much more deliberate of like, and then this is going to happen. And there's a lot of talking about our feelings. And
right.
It does have that idea, though, that's really seductive of like, what if you as a kid met yourself now?
Yeah.
Would you be impressed?
Right.
Or would you be like, oh, no.
Oh, no way.
And that's something to think about. I don't know. That's a concept that's pretty powerful. So these kids wanting to know their future, but maybe not wanting to know their future, and all the adults looking back like, where did it all go wrong? So there's a core there of something really special, and I liked it well enough. It just didn't. I don't know. It didn't wow me. Although the craziest thing, episode 2, the title of episode 2 is Weird Al is Dead.
I heard this.
Which was the title of the Why the Last Man episode.
Yeah.
Over on whatever channel that was on there. Hulu, that was on Hulu. That Yorick has this, he's all the men have died in this world, and Yorick has the realization, oh no, Weird Al's dead. It really bums him out.
Yeah.
So that was a title of Brian K. Vaughan's Why the Last Man. And for some reason, they made it a title of this show. So I don't know if that's some inside joke or what.
He made a post about it. He said, no, that these were totally unrelated.
That's impossible.
That both different people that did it said they both swore up and down it was they just individually did this, I'm like, I don't know if I believe it. That's crazy.
So a mild recommendation. It's fun, and
I'll watch it for sure.
The Stranger Things vibes are pretty good, and you know it has that kind of fun teen adventure.
Yeah, I will watch it for
and tons
sure.
of references to, they reference something in the who is this guy? They don't understand each other's references and that kind of stuff. So
there's so much. Geez, pick another streaming service.
Well, my wife, she discovered a show there, and I just haven't. It was a while back, and she watched the whole series. That is a show I'd never heard of, and I just haven't had the chance to talk about it. But it was an FX original called Better Things.
Oh yeah, Pamela Adlon. I've watched. It was like I want to say a spinoff. It wrote off of the original success of Louis C.K.'s show. Okay. And he produced this, I believe, with her. And she lives. There's been like 5 seasons. I think this last season was the end. I still have like a handful of episodes from the final season I haven't watched.
Okay.
But I've watched it since the beginning. She's divorced, has 3 daughters, and you've watched them grow up over the series,
right? Max, Frankie, and Duke.
Yeah, and it's just a very female centric show. It gives you just a lot of female perspectives and things. Right. Trying to show you how she's having to deal with some of the men in their lives, but mostly just them dealing with each other, raising daughters, and
right,
stuff.
Growing up.
She kind of plays herself, basically. She plays a working actor, and
you could tell. I didn't watch every episode. My wife did, but I caught quite a bit of it throughout the entire series. And like, it really surprised me because when she was watching it, and I was just kind of in the room at first, and I was just like not even paying attention. And the more she watched, the more I was getting into it. And I was like, man, some of these characters are really.
It's a good show. I heard that if you've watched the whole series, it wraps up pretty emotionally and stuff. I'm looking forward to that because I really liked her. I liked the show. The girls were great. The oldest girl was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I remember
Mickey
thinking
Madison or Mikey Madison,
Mickey, I think. She's pretty good. She's been she was in the new Scream movie too.
Well, they were all good. That the girl that plays Frankie, I really thought through the entire. She was pretty young at first, and then she really grows up.
Duke has grown up so much in the last few years. I
I
like to watch some of these kid actors grow up and do a good job. They've all did a good job the whole way through.
Yeah, that last season really focuses on like the road ahead type thing.
Oh, that's cool.
Like you were saying, kind of it does wrap up kind of emotional. But she lives with her mother is British, and she has to take care of her, and that's a whole other
she's
mothers and daughters, and
their father's like just kind of, he's not a terrible person, but he's a pain in the ass,
right?
What's the guy's name? Diedrich Bader. He's in there as like her gay friend. He's really good in it.
He was entertaining. But my wife really loved it, and I ended up I was like, man, this show, for a modern show, this really has a vibe of a feeling to it.
It's got a little bit of that what Louis C.K.'s show was. It's just got that. Yeah, just how he dealt with his kids and stuff, it was
and even for us, I guess as parents, dealing with a little bit here, but dealing with the differences in the generations with our kids.
You're a lot more honest with your kids nowadays. I think you treat your kids a little more adult than we were treated.
Yeah,
but just being honest with.
Even with her trying to learn pronouns and understand it, that was like a whole couple episodes of just her not.
Yeah, she didn't handle it well. Like she was a bad example. You know, but that was a cool way to write it. Like she has been like a progressive voice, you know, like you would expect that character to be in the show. And she was like, even she was having trouble with
right. There's a realness to it.
Yeah.
I really thought, but we really liked it. And I've had it in my notes for a long time now that just to talk about it and mention it.
I don't know why I've never mentioned it. I've watched every season. As much stuff as we talk about, we watch. There's still 100 more shows that I just don't even ever mention.
Don't fear, listener. We're okay. There's always more after this.
Yep.
So, anyways,
that's on Hulu. So while we're on Hulu, I watched The Old Man, that first season with Jeff Bridges and John Lithgow. Man, first off, did either of you watch any of this?
I watched the whole thing. Yeah.
Okay. The first 2 episodes are incredible. I would recommend the first 2 episodes of that show to anybody. Like it's incredible. The Jeff Bridges, a 70-some-year-old guy, looking like he is in the fight of his life, and looks great.
Yeah, my notes have episode 1, They Live Fight. He has like a 15-minute roll around on the ground.
Unreal.
Elbows, but punch it like, just the grittiest, longest fight scene.
Believable, totally believable.
Yeah.
That I mean, they make it look believable that this guy could do this. And then the next however many episodes were the most painful slog for me. Do you feel the same way? Like,
yeah, I really liked it starting out. Like, this is going to be
the greatest.
This is really interesting.
Yes.
This is a cool character to follow. And then I just didn't care anymore. Like Amy Brenneman shows up. She's fine.
I thought she
was Aaliyah Shawkat from
was great. And I did not recognize her voice. It was kind of a surprise.
No, I did.
I did not at first. So I did not tie that together right away.
But I liked the flashbacks to Afghanistan and the 80s. Like,
I like that actor
too.
That was that guy from
Lock and Key.
Yeah. I was thinking of the Coen Brothers movie, The Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
Oh, right.
He was in my favorite section of that movie there.
So that's the idea. We're this guy. He was an operator in Afghanistan in the 80s. Who somebody says he went Lawrence of Arabia with the natives. Fell in with this warlord to fight the Russians and do things Americans couldn't normally do. And now here he is, 40 years later, and his past is coming back to haunt him. Like, okay, I'm in. Like, that's such 100%. A great concept. And I don't know where it went wrong. It just sort of got boring, and it just sort of.
I couldn't follow the story. Every flashback got more boring and more boring. I was like, I was just like, I found I was on my phone a lot watching. I was just like, man, I gotta finish this, and it's terrible. I hated it. I mean, I hated it. I loved the first 2 episodes. That was it.
So probably won't come back for season 2.
Basically, there was a choice made in the second episode where something happened that doesn't really happen. And I thought, oh my gosh, are we doing this? This show is the best thing ever. And they're like, nope. And and from then on, it was all downhill. Another show that I watched on Hulu, which I'm sure you guys haven't watched it, but it's just weird enough of a concept that I'm going to watch this as long as it is on. It's a stupid reality show called Claim to Fame. And have you seen anything about this? It's hosted by apparently the 2 of least of the Jonas Brothers. We have a bonus Jonas. There's a 4th Jonas brother apparently that we've never seen. But I don't know anything about the Jonas Brothers, but I think a couple of them are too big for this. But one of them maybe is Kevin. I don't know. And then there's this other guy named, I don't even know, Frankie maybe, but he's not one of the singing ones. But they're hosting this, and he's like just quirky and kind of funny. Like, he's my favorite Jonas by far. But this show is, what is your?
That's what they should have called the show. My favorite Jonas.
Yeah, bonus Jonas. It's almost a good show. You put like 20 people in a house, and they all have to say two truths and a lie, basically, at the beginning of the show. They say, I have a connection to a famous person. It's my dad. They won this Academy Award in whatever year, and they're famous for something else. They give like two things are true, one's a lie, and then they play these games every week that kind of give more clues and more clues. And at the end of the episode, whoever like lost the challenge or something has to guess what one of the other people's famous person is. And they're not nobodies that they're related to. It's like they are famous. They are related to famous freaking people.
Wow, that's crazy. Reality TV has become like saturated with famous people.
Yeah.
And we have too many shows. We have more shows than we do famous people. So we have to go down a rung and get people related to famous people.
But
wow, what a time to be alive.
It is an interesting show. Like, I mean, so there's like, what was fun, like half the fun is you yourself trying to figure out. They give you a little bit. They'll be like, okay, for this girl, first episode, she's obviously related to Whoopi Goldberg. She looks just like Whoopi Goldberg. You know, it's like, okay, so they give you that. But there's also a wall of clues that, okay, you can look at, and they give it's just like a bunch of sculptures on it, and it's clues. Every famous person has like 3 or 4 clues on there, and you can look at it and figure it out. In the first episode, they really lead you down this path that this kid is related to Steven Spielberg, and it's not, but it's another extremely famous person, and but you're really thrown off because those clues are to some. It's a good show. So if you're looking for something off the beaten path, it is an interesting show to try to figure out who these people are related to. They're pretty big stars, or random famous people, but I have really enjoyed it. And of course, I'm listening to some podcast that's hilarious where they talk about it. So that's half the fun. Anything else on Hulu? Okay. I'm going to pick the streaming service this time. Paramount Plus.
What?
I know you have it now. So
I do.
Of course, I'm watching Big Brother 24. We got the live
24/7.
24/7. I'm watching it. Started out weak. Coming on strong. We've had one of the best pre-juries in a while, where we're getting rid of all the worst people in the first half of the game. So they were pretty mean to that girl at the beginning, and she's getting some of her redemption back. So
yeah, I was not into it when it started. I kind of poked back in and looked, I watched a couple moments, and then it has gotten more interesting. And like, people, these alliances and people not knowing who's in an alliance, all that, I'm sure that's all the normal stuff.
Yeah.
But it's also structured in such a way, like I watched some of the live feeds the night Michael was head of household.
Right.
And the obvious vote was to get rid of this guy.
Yeah.
And then people kept coming up to him and saying, we should really get rid of this other guy.
Yeah.
And he watched the live feed, and they were laughing at it. They were laughing at the idea that it was laughable. We're never going to do that, you idiots. You're bad at this game.
Yeah.
And then you watch the show on network the night it airs, and they make drama out of it. Like, will Michael vote for this guy, or will he betray his alliance member? It's like, wait, he was never going to do that. But I watched it myself, and I'm still like, well, maybe he would take a big shot.
Originally he was into it.
Okay.
He was into it at first, and then they all came with it. And he's like, well, you guys are all obviously in an alliance, and I can't do it. But I honestly think if they wouldn't have suggested it, he would have suggested it. But they all made it obvious that they were against it.
So yeah, it was an episode where the most obvious thing was going to happen, but they still managed to add a little bit of drama of like, okay, maybe that won't happen. I don't know.
I knew I was clicking on all cylinders when I predicted who was going to win the wall competition last night. It was nice to be off on vacation. I could sit and watch it live, but I was like, I'm doing that stock watch again just moving up the board. I ended in 15th place last year. I'm going for top 10 this year, but I'm up to 54th. And then I was like, okay, before the episode, I got to pick who I'm putting all my stock in. I was like, there's going to be 10 people in the wall competition. And I was like, but I know this show so well. I did the math. I'm like, okay. These 3 people are too fat. These 3 guys are too tall.
Jasmine's a wreck.
No. Yeah. I was like, I'm surprised she even got up on the wall. I was like, these 3 guys are too tall. I was like, my pick was it's gonna come down to Turner or Taylor. They were made for this. Skinny, not as tall as those other guys. I was like, well, Turner went out 4th to last. I was like, I was a little off there, but it got down to Kyle and Taylor, and Kyle was like, I did not throw it. I held on as long as I freaking could and just couldn't do it. They're too hot, top heavy. And she won. I was like, I put all my shares in Taylor, and she won. I picked the one person out of 10. You can't stop me.
Now, see, watching this season, I know people who say stuff like that to camera and are acting very cocky.
Screwed. I'm
usually
screwed.
Immediately get.
That's why I'm screwed. By the end of this edit, they're gonna throw this in my face.
Yeah.
But they
what a bunch of clowns.
Exactly. So yeah, I'm screwed. She last night, as soon as she went ahead of household, she started screwing stuff up already. So I'll probably be in the tank by the end of the week. So more Paramount Plus. The challenge is great. I'm not going to go into that, but I like that they've got a CBS The Challenge now. But I watched 3 things on there other than that. One was that series, The Offer, which has, what's his name? What's his freaking name, Jordan? He was in Whiplash.
The Teller.
Miles Teller. He plays the producer that for The Godfather. And it's like a 10-episode series. It's got Juno Temple and him and whatever the guy's name is. I can't think of his name either. And he's playing a producer, famous producer that he does really good. But anyway, the show is good. I really enjoyed that show. And watching them cut, their version of what happened in the creation of The Godfather and all the hurdles they had to jump through to make it happen. And I really loved it. 2 other things. From the creators of American Vandal, that I loved both seasons of that mockumentary style. I love that show on Netflix. They've come to Paramount Plus and made Players. And it is a mockumentary of esports. And it's excellent. Great show. Got emotion to it. It's like, I can't believe how good that show is. We have loved it. And the last thing I watched, you mentioned in the previous episode, and I was smiling because I haven't watched the Beavis and Butthead movie yet, this new movie, but I might go back but I did try out the first 3 episodes of the series, and where that's their sweet spot.
Now that you've seen them do the universe, it's time for them to do a new series.
Beavis, what are you doing?
Nothing.
This is gonna be cool.
Ow. Was that your butt or my butt?
I don't know.
Yeah. No! Fire! Where's the bathroom?
Down the hall to the right.
Hey, what are you doing?
I'm Butthead, ass face.
Which one of those is your name? And which one is what you're calling me?
There's a mosquito on your face right now. Hold still. I'll get it for you. He's a tough little fella.
Is it gone now?
No. Another clue.
What do we do with it?
Elementary, my dear dumbass. What the hell is going on here? We have a bountiful harvest of produce and crafts. Well, we just came here to break stuff.
Beavis and Butthead are back with an all-new series streaming August 4th exclusively on Paramount Plus.
It's stupid.
Oh, yeah.
20 minutes, If you don't know the Beavis and Butthead format, it is an overarching story of the episode, stopped by moments where they would stop and be watching videos back in the day. But now we've had the perfect thing. They can watch TikToks.
Genius.
It's
Genius.
Perfect.
And hilarious.
It is smoking hilarious.
The hardest I've laughed in ages. And I have a soft spot for Beavis and Butthead. Oh, that's great. I like that as a kid. But I don't know. Something about this is still.
It's almost like, okay, better.
The little episodes are fine. They're funny. There's
a modern concept. First episode, they do an escape room.
Right.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful. It's everything you want from Beavis and Butthead in an escape room. Second episode has a part they do ASMR. I love that. I love the idea of Butthead.
I'm gonna talk like this forever.
It's so good, so good.
But yeah, the music videos in the back in the day were always the highlight.
Yes.
Yeah,
you waited for the music video parts, and it's the same on these new ones. The very first one they showed was a reaction video to a girl getting into college. And that one day you will beat me, Mary Catherine, but today is not that day.
They don't know what's going on in the video at all. They think it's his mom fighting the dog.
But my absolute favorite was the guy explaining how to do a prison tattoo.
Oh,
you got to get your saltine cracker box. And the way is like, what accent is that? I think that's a prison accent.
And they're talking like him. Beavis is talking like him.
Yeah,
you
gotta get your saltine cracker box.
When he's an awful nice place. He's back living with his mom. It's so good. I was not sure what to expect.
Out of nowhere.
It is a total surprise that Beavis and Butthead are back, and not only are they back, they're better than ever.
You've got the KPP seal of approval.
I am in. I will watch every episode of this. It comes out on Thursdays, and I immediately watched it.
I didn't know what day it came out. I kept going back and checking, and I was mad there wasn't a third one yet.
It's out. They get stuck on a roof. It's amazing. Oh, okay. That's
so
all.
I'll do lightning round like he's been doing. So here's my first month to Paramount Plus. Here's what 99 cents got me. Okay, Beavis and Butthead do the universe we talked about. Beavis and Butthead the series. The other movies I watched are Scream from 2022, which I liked. I thought it had an interesting meta sort of. How do you do a remake or a reboot? How do you please longtime fans and get new? That
I really enjoy it. I'm a big Scream fan, and I enjoyed it. Yeah,
that was good stuff. I also watched Reno 911: The Hunt for QAnon. Where the whole police department goes on a booze cruise to try to track down the head of. They try to find Q on a booze cruise. Good stuff. So those were the movies I watched, and the series. I watched The Stand, 9 episodes, Stephen King adaptation. Not great. Okay.
Follow that. And not watch it.
But not great. Its biggest mistake maybe it's following the DC track. It cast both Amber Heard and Ezra Miller as 2 very important characters.
If they could just team up.
Just bad luck.
I would watch a Wonder Twins movie starring those 2.
Yeah.
I watched all the South Park stuff, the post-COVID, return of COVID, and Streaming Wars Part 1 and 2, all the hour-long South Park specials. Enjoyed all those.
Yeah.
And then I watched the Console Wars documentary.
Love it.
We talked about a while. We talked about it a long time ago, but it was those early years when Nintendo was the all-time
Sega
leader.
Sega does what Nintendo.
And Sega came and took over. So that was very interesting.
Yeah, it was good. Great book.
So that's 99 cents. I feel like you couldn't buy.
You nailed it. You nailed it. That was you took a gamble and it paid off, even just for the Beavis and Butthead.
If that show's not over by the time I got to pay full price, I'm gonna be.
Oh,
it's gonna be a struggle.
It is
going to
be
for another
talk
month.
about a gamble. You're gonna be coming to me and give me some of that password.
Need that saltine cracker box.
Cliff, you would like. Were you ever a Beavis and Butthead fan?
Always.
Okay.
Always.
Good. I'm about on a different channel. I'm about halfway through Light and Magic on Disney Plus.
Visual effects create the magic that makes people want to go to the movies. Movies are special effects.
We start with an empty frame. Anything is possible.
As audiences see through the illusion, the bar just raises.
How do we do this now? How do we make this look great? I leave it to the geniuses at ILM.
It's right there in the name, Industrial Light and Magic.
The history of ILM goes way back.
When I was writing Star Wars, there were no special effects houses in the world. So how are we going to do the effects?
I realized that I was going to have to start a company.
So we didn't really know what we were doing. We were not movie people. George wanted a bunch of guys who didn't know what was impossible.
We were departing from convention. We had to build equipment from scratch. This was a long shot.
We make it look like a professional movie instead of a bunch of kids having fun. We realized nothing is impossible. There was just something here about the people. Suddenly, everybody wants to come to ILM.
We were trying to do things that have never been done before.
Oh, I don't know. I'm making this up as I go.
They're pushing technology forward.
There's so many innovations that ILM made. Digital editing, computer graphics.
We developed Pixar to be a cartoon company.
One thing led to another. It turned into Photoshop. Now you could manipulate images.
Visual effects would never be the same again. I remember.
Yes, I haven't. I've heard about this. I've seen a bunch of videos and commentary about it, but I have not watched it.
I'm surprised you're not all over this, but you'll. It's very interesting.
I'll get there.
It is all it's just the story of Industrial Light and Magic, and
yeah,
it starts out. What I've watched so far, it starts out the very beginnings of it, and it's a lot. The second episode, most is just basically George Lucas, and I mean the guy's a freaking phenomenon. I already, of course, we idolize him. We joke about him, but the guy really stamped our lives, and you're just so impressed. The guy, everything touches is gold, and just what they were able to do in those beginnings, and to just how he made this stuff happen. It's all about the people. It's like we got this guy and they're all there talking about it and telling you how they did this and that, and it's every detail you want. So, and I can't wait till I want to see the rest of the series and talk about it after you've watched it, because it's right up my alley. It's long. They're hour-long episodes, but it's very interesting behind the scenes stuff. So super, super cool. HBO. We got
before we hit off Disney Plus real quick. There's a new Baymax series.
Oh, okay. I never watched the Big Hero.
From Big Hero 6 that Carly and I have been checking out, and it's excellent. We love Baymax anyways before this had come out, but a little bit of controversy. Oh God, they're talking about girls' periods and tampons and things like that on a cartoon show again.
Right.
How dare they? But the show's excellent. We've really enjoyed this one. Highly recommend that. And then go ahead, HBO Max. What are you watching there?
Oh, well, Westworld season 4 is rolling along. It had me back for a while, and now it's totally off the rails again. It's just
I don't think I finished last season because
3 was not good. 3 was
I could not do it anymore.
Season 1 is one of the greatest seasons of television ever. Season 2 is so far below that. Season 3 is just like even further below that. And this one had some new life, simplified some concepts at the start, really kind of threw season 3 in the trash and started over. And then it's totally off the rails again.
I could not get through the first episode of this new season. I tried like 3 times and I ended up turning it off. I was like, I cannot.
They just take every
You're
concept.
a better man than me.
every concept that crosses their desk, they try to use.
I had that sitting there watching this, like what I had that feeling of like, why am I still watching this?
Yeah.
I have and it's not that I hate
time.
it. It's like, okay, it's still like I have enough warm feelings for this first 2 seasons. Like I want it to be interesting and good. But I had this thought of like, I have literally never watched a show before that I understood less. Yeah. I don't know what's happening. Mm-hmm. I don't know who any of the characters are. And it's not because I'm not paying attention.
No.
You know, I'm not going to read a blog about it and make a flow chart. Like that's, you know, you have to at least make it make sense. But I don't know who's a robot, who's a person, whose brain balls in whose head, who's been reincarnated as somebody else. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what timeline we're in. I don't know how far in the future we are. I don't know
nothing matters too, because everybody can come back to life
right
at any moment. Nothing. Whatever matters who's killed. They just come back.
They killed like 5 main characters in that last episode, and I didn't care. Like it didn't
matter. Great look, by the way. Have a white guy walk around and shoot 3 black people in the head of your biggest stars. I was like, what are you doing?
So that should have been a stunning moment of television, but I was like, what are they, robots? Are they coming back?
Yeah, they'll be back. They'll be back next episode probably. But.
So I'm still hanging on, but I feel like, is this how you know the dumbest people watch these shows? I'm like, I don't even know what's going on, but it's pretty. You're shiny. Like I feel like that. I was like, I'm just watching it for hey, that guy's got a gun. I liked him in the first season. What's he gonna do?
It's impossible to follow. It's impossible. I listened to a podcast basically explaining it to me, and I still don't get it. So
I don't feel as bad.
So I don't know how you could possibly get it not doing that. It's a mess.
Although I did know immediately that girl showed up with Bernard. I was like,
everybody knew.
That's got to be his daughter.
Obviously.
Yeah, there was no. But then they immediately revealed it, so it wasn't like they were holding on for a big twist. But it's like, I got. The thing you were trying to tease me with, I understood immediately.
My biggest criticism is this. They will do things like Maeve in this last episode. The whole thing where he was like trying to hide from her, you know, what she was doing, try to get her to do this or whatever. It didn't make any sense. And I felt like the vibe from the showrunners was, don't worry about that. This isn't important. In a you cannot do that in a show where you expect me to find everything important enough to examine and research, but I'm supposed to not pay attention to other things. So they have just lost their minds. They're so full of themselves. It's ridiculous.
Is it just one more, or is it only 8 this season?
Yes.
I'm holding out hope it's just 8.
Yeah, there's only one more. There's only one more. They can't afford to have it. That's how they fix the budget. Less episodes. That's the opposite of what Daredevil's going to do. We're gonna spread out this budget over 18 episodes. I mean, that's 18 shittiest episodes you've ever seen in your life. Damn it, you'll be able to follow it. We all know what Kingpin's password is. Yes. HBO.
Yeah, if you want to watch something good on HBO,
I got it for you.
Okay.
Da, 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 da. Hard Knocks is back, baby. The best theme song in television.
People love this show.
I love it. I don't even care about football that much, but I will watch Hard Knocks till they make me stop.
Yeah,
I love watching. I don't care. It's the freaking Detroit Lions. I don't give a crap about the Detroit Lions.
Nobody does. Nobody does.
I'm riveted. I love it. I love everything about it. It's just like, it's something that's really hypes me up for the season. I like getting to know the players. I don't care what team it is. I like getting to know the players. I like that they got that second round pick or whatever kid on there.
Yeah.
And just showing him, you know, being a badass. It was cool, showing how good he was and talking about what the difference between college and pro is. And, and they've got these new funny helmet pad things on the outside of their helmets that as of this year that you have to wear, and it looks ridiculous
during practice.
It's ridiculous. I love it. They've already announced they did last year was great because you watch that till the season starts, and then we didn't have it. And every year, and then last season they did in season with the Indianapolis Colts, and that was great.
Yeah,
that was very exciting, and I was like, "What a great idea!" And this year it's going to be the Cardinals. I don't know if they're any good, but they're at least better than the Lions, so maybe they'll be in contention. Interesting. And last but not least, the Rehearsal.
Did Cliff did you have something else you're gonna say on HBO?
It's okay.
This is the last thing I have.
Well, I figured you were saving this for last because
whatever. Yeah,
this was your coup de grace.
This is our baby. This is the best thing on television. Yeah. Are you watching it, Cliff?
No. I have
no.
I'm not watching hardly anything currently. It is volleyball season in my house, and we are not home.
You should shoot your own volleyball documentary.
I should do.
I would.
I have a gimbal. I
would watch
I could do that.
I would watch it. I just want to know all the players.
Yeah.
Hear the chit chat, all the chatter.
Oh man,
on the court, behind the scenes,
the drama.
Exciting. I want to know the high school drama. I want it all. I want to cross between volleyball and Riverdale.
Let me tell you, it's there.
We are talking about the best show on television, The Rehearsal. Nathan Fielder is out of his mind, and each episode is better than the last. Do you agree, Jordan?
I don't even know how to describe this show. I'm assuming if you've seen Nathan For You, his previous series, like there's some. That was maybe the basis. That's the baseline for this.
That's his first form. He's been
so
transformed into something else. He shed that husk.
So his claim to fame was working with, everyday people with these ridiculous out there concepts and very deadpan delivery, and just kind of seeing how far he could push the craziest ideas.
Yes.
So this takes that and puts it in a weird limbo of reality TV and reality and not reality, and what's going on in front of the camera, behind the camera. I saw a couple references to Schenectady, New York, if you remember that movie.
Yeah.
Philip Seymour Hoffman trying to create a scale model of a city, the size of the city.
A city, yeah.
Yeah, so that's this idea of so I guess the basic concept is easy. He wants to have people rehearse.
Yeah.
If you have something coming up in your life that you're worried about or you're not quite sure about, let's rehearse it.
The Fielder method.
The Fielder method.
just recreate it to the max.
Right. It's not good enough to just practice. You have to have every detail.
Yes.
So, the first episode takes place at a restaurant. So he builds the exact restaurant in a warehouse.
Yeah.
To give this guy, you have to know where you're sitting, which way is the waitress going to be coming, where's the front door, you got to be facing this way. And I have to say, there is something appealing to that as a person who struggles sometimes with anxiety and worrying about how things are going. If I could do a walkthrough, I love online maps and being able to look at street, where am I going? I've never been here before, and I can look at the front of the building. Oh, that's what the building looks like. That eases so much anxiety for me of knowing what I'm getting into.
Yeah.
So there's an appeal to this, I'm worried about this thing. You let me run through it and there's no stakes to it. Okay. So
my heart rate might be slowed down a little bit when it comes time.
I get why people might start this process.
Yeah.
This I'm not quite sure how
this
far
show is I feel like the point is to prove himself wrong. His entire thesis is proven wrong every episode, that it honestly, none of this is good for anything. And yet they're spending millions and millions of dollars on it. And it's throw every cost to the win. Nothing matters. We can spend it all. Oh my gosh.
So I've
Jacked
seen
up.
like highfalutin, it's subverting the very concept of reality television, and it's turning the camera in on itself, and how do you take exploitation and turn it into entertainment? And like it's all very heady, but there's also that thrill of these are the craziest people I've ever seen on television, and like there's the train wreck. Why do we watch reality TV? To see weird people do weird things, and at its core, that's enough. Like that's fun enough. But then he takes it in directions that you're just, where is he going with this?
Oh my gosh. When he got a group of actors to try the Fielder method, they were to each pick a primary, each pick a person that they ran into on the street, basically, and try to live that person's life, try to be like that person. And then he felt like one actor in that group, he picked one out. One actor in that group doesn't necessarily, I feel like I didn't connect right. This didn't work for him. I want to try to redo this. He hires another group of actors to play those actors, and he plays that guy, has someone else play himself. That's the real guy start living the life of his primary while he lives that guy's life in just this emotion, because he keeps wanting to get in that guy's head. When he goes to the place that the guy is working, because he is working the job that the primary works, and he has to go where he had wanted him to dump the bowl and all this stuff, he has to go through that and try to connect with the guy. The guy's just like, do you want something of this on that? It's like, and he sees the difficulty that guy went through. Oh, it's just like layer upon layer of ridiculousness. You can't trust anything of the show being real at all.
No, I've seen a few comments online of people like, oh, he was really mean, the gold digger guy.
Yeah.
He really hurt that. And that's like, I don't know how much, like, if you sign a release and you're going to be on camera, like how much of that stuff do you believe
they even
anyway?
Show that. That's one scene in that latest episode where they show him doing this release signing to kind of point that out, that they all signed the release. That is my favorite moment of the show, though, is that gold digger guy. When I feel like that was the one moment in the show where it honestly cracked what the point of that method is.
Yeah.
That guy in that moment was able to say what he wanted to say to his brother, and he'll probably never be able to duplicate it.
Yeah.
But in that moment, I don't know how he couldn't come through to his brother. I will not miss a minute of the show as long as it will go. There's only it's only 6 episodes, 2 left, but it's something. It is groundbreaking television. Like, you've never seen anything like it. And I keep expecting to turn around and see him standing behind me with a laptop strapped around his neck. And it's all a simulation. That's all I got.
The only other thing I had on HBO Max was just the return season 3 of Harley Quinn, the animated series.
Right.
I'm not caught up with that. I liked what I saw of it.
Yeah, I kept meaning to go back. I wanted to watch all this again.
It's just so much.
Picks up from season 2, of course, and this is, Harley and Ivy have run off into the sunset to do crimes and be in love and have their relationship just like out of the comics. And season 3 is just dealing with what comes next. Okay. Now they're in the relationship, and they're obviously 2 very different personalities, much like we would have in a normal.
I didn't know that was a comic thing. Like, how
those
much
two
is
get together?
Yeah. How long ago did that happen, and what's the deal?
It's fairly recent. There were like fan shipping and stuff, and then like they kind of played into it, and then basically just made it official that they're really in love.
Oh, that's exciting.
That once Harley's able to realize Joker.
Yeah.
Is this just sprinkled throughout, or is there a series or anything?
I mean, like back in the 90s, there was a series called Harley and Ivy. It was like a mini series, but it was just fun girl power stuff.
Okay.
So I don't know that there's been a specific like mini series where it all got revealed.
Oh, so it's but it's been hinted at in the other Batman and shit like that.
Yeah. But yeah, as of today, I think there's 5 episodes. There's out right now. There's one episode where they go to like the villain awards, and Harley has always been up for the award and won it several times with the Joker.
Yeah.
And he always takes the credit and takes the award. And this time she's nominated with Ivy. And it's a really good episode. They get all dolled up for it. And
you're convincing me. I watched most of the first season, so I think I want to get back into it. I like Kaylee Cuoco. I thought she did a good job as her.
Yeah, I really like her as a voice actress in this show. And it's just progressing, with the gang and what's left of the gang, and it's a good show. I mean, it's so different than other cartoons out there that it's perfect for HBO Max. I hope they continue it, and it's been just solid. So
why would you worry about Warner Brothers?
The saddest thing, exactly.
I have no idea. Just
the saddest thing is that I would tell you HBO Max is my favorite streaming service. It has everything. It has prestige TV. It has stuff like this, quirky stuff, and it has movies, a lot of movies, and they're going to ruin it. And within a few days, I went from it's my favorite channel to, am I going to end up canceling this? Are they going to screw the whole thing up? Yeah, that's terrible. That was the worst freaking news.
Well, and what we're talking about is HBO Max ceasing to be and being rolled into Discovery Plus. And I kind of thought the same thing, but then I thought, I know a lot of people that subscribe to Discovery Plus because they love their content. And are they going to ruin both of them here? Like, these are two things that should not mix together.
You know how many Bigfoot shows you're about to get.
Right.
Oh, exactly. I don't want your chocolate and my peanut butter.
So, but as far as Harley goes, it's been really good, and they've introduced the latest character they've really introduced as a main player in this season is Nightwing.
That was what interested me again when I saw that. Oh no, it's another Robin.
I'm original.
Good stuff. So good stuff.
I saw Swamp Thing and Abby were involved at some point, so I was excited about that.
Yeah, it's a good show. I'm telling you, if get caught up on it while we can, and I
will
definitely. So,
and if you run out of those, there was a comic book series they did, a 6-issue miniseries that bridged season 2 to 3. So there's a story that took place between the seasons. And there's a one-shot coming out in a couple weeks that'll be set in the world of the show. So.
Did any of these come with a Fortnite skin?
I can scribble a code in
that's
the back.
All you just put something in there.
I'll put a bunch of random letters.
I'll take 10 copies. All right, I think we did it.
Yes.
All right. TV's good, eh?
Yes. Right now it is.
Too good. Also, comics are good, and you should check out soprocomics.com. Check out SoPro Fusion on Facebook and support the Kickstarter for our upcoming comic book, written by me, illustrated by the illustrious Michael K. Easton, colored by Christy Easton, and coming your way very soon. Thank you for your support. My name is Jordan Lowe.
And we're Bartles and James. Goodbye forever.
Ka-Pow, the pop cultured podcast, is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Sounds, music, and clips played during the podcast are property of copyright holders. All original content is property of www.udownwithkpp.com. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and leave a comment. Ka-Pow, the pop cultured podcast, can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, and wherever podcasts can be found. You can connect with us through social media on Facebook, YouTube, at the Ka-Pow Podcast on Twitter, or email the show, Ka-Pow, the Pop Cultured Podcast, at gmail.com. If you really want to go the extra mile, join our Patreon at patreon.com/YouDownWithKPP for special content and access to Patreon-only benefits. We are grateful for anyone who chooses to contribute, but please know that most of our content will remain free. So please continue to like, comment, and share.